Woo! I'm so pumped. I went to the reptile show today and I got I think the guy called it a crested gecko. Very excited. I don't know what to call him.
I will name him George, and I will hug him and pet him and squeeze him.
But now I want to go ahead and feed him. I love him so much. Come on, George, eat. George, eat. Come on, George, eat. Don't you like your food? George, are you okay? Maybe it's time to hit Facebook. Poor George. I'm sure you see a couple of things wrong with that previous video. Let's talk about the 7 reasons why your crested gecko isn't eating. Make sure you hang around until the end. There's going to be a very critical point that I want to cover that will probably help you understand why your animal isn't eating. We're going to go down this list from 7 to number 1, from least probable to most probable. Starting with number 7.
7.
Are you feeding every single day? Crested geckos won't eat every single day. It's just too much food. That's not what they do in nature. We feed every other day, and especially in the winter, sometimes every 3rd day.
6.
For number 6, did you know that when crested geckos shed, they don't eat for a couple of days before and after?
5.
For number 5, your gecko might be handled a little bit too much. We recommend not handling your gecko more than about 10 minutes or so a day. As well, there might be too much activity around your gecko's enclosure. Minimize the amount of activity such as young kids, especially pets like dogs and cats. Any kind of barking could disturb or stress out your gecko.
4.
Number 4. Does your gecko have a tank mate that might be stressing that animal out? There might be signs of bullying that you're not seeing. If your gecko is a little bit underweight, or while you're observing it, if it's behind plants or never coming out, it might be being bullied.
3.
Number 3, and again, we're working from least probable to most probable, is temperatures. If your gecko is either too warm or too cold, it might not be eating like it should be. For crested geckos, that temperature range is from the highs of about 78 to 80 down to about 66 degrees. Outside of that range, and your gecko is probably going to be stressed out or a little bit too cold to eat normally. Also for temperatures, if you have a sudden temperature change, either from going too warm to too cold or too cold to too warm, that might stress out your crested gecko.
2.
Number 2, did you just receive your gecko? Did you have it shipped in? Did you just purchase it from a reptile store? Did you just go to a reptile show and purchase your animal? There's a lot of stress in shipping in animals, as well bringing them home from reptile shows or from a pet store. After you receive your animal, let it go ahead and acclimate in your new enclosure and don't expect it to eat for probably 2 or 3 days. Let your gecko settle in, minimize handling to about 5 minutes every day for the first 2 or 3 days. If it's not eating after about 4 or 5 days, go ahead and contact the breeder or the pet store that you purchased it from and let them know that it's not eating and ask them recommendations.
1.
Finally, how do you really know that your gecko isn't eating? Here's a saying that we always use with customers. If the gecko is pooping, it's eating. For crested geckos, this is pretty simple. We use the appropriate sized food dish. I like these crested gecko diet dishes. They're small, they're flat, they won't tip over, and it's easy to measure and manage the amount of food that they're eating. For crested geckos, remember they can only eat as much as about the size of their head. The size of their head is about the size of their stomach. So on the left, on the white dish, is about the amount that I would feed a A small crested gecko, newborn to about a month and a half to 2 months. On the right is going to be the amount that I would feed an adult crested gecko. I feed a little bit too much there, but I feed just before lights go out, and again, I feed about every other day. For other geckos, make sure that you're feeding only the amount of food that they're going to eat in about 1 or 2 days. Either a couple of crickets or a couple of mealworms or whatever food item that you're giving them. Make sure that they're finishing those food items before you feed them again. For other geckos that require a warm spot, such as leopard geckos or picta geckos, make sure that you have a cool area and a warm area of about 25% of their enclosure. That warm area, especially for leopard geckos, should be in about the high 80s to low 90s. This is a significant reason why leopard geckos or other geckos requiring a warm spot won't eat. I hope this video was helpful. If you have an animal that's not eating, please leave a comment and I'll see if I can help you along the situation. If you liked this video and it helped, hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you for watching.